Hello. So, in this episode of Stuff No One Asked For, you're going to learn how to set up the A32NX mod from, like, cold and dark to ready to fly. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Innsbruck. Ooh, it's a bit laggy. Innsbruck. There we go. Details. Up onto Route 6. Of course, if we're doing that, we are going to need the A32NX. Could take the basic, but that's a bit boring, so what we're gonna do is find livery that I like the look of. Can be anyone. We'll take the fly-by-wire, as it is by fly-by-wire. Do flight conditions. We'll go lifetime. It's not that important to what we're doing today. But it will impact how the Simbrief integration works. So, this is Simbrief. I highly recommend it. And basically it's going to help us generate a flight plan and put it into the plane. So let's pretend we are a British Airways flight. I'm going to go 14 Romeo. We're going to leave Lowy, which is Innsbruck, and we're going to arrive at EGPH, which that's Edinburgh. It gives you a departure time, which is about half an hour ahead of your current time. It's okay, but if you want to change that, you can. It might adjust the weather. So yeah, you tell it what you've got up here. I've got mine adjusted to give me the right amount of fuel, which is quite good. And then it will give you everything you need to know. So it'll tell you your flight time. It will give you a departure runway based on the weather that it has access to, and it'll tell you an arrival runway based on that too. Calculate your sort of best cruising altitude. And then it'll give you a route. So it's given me a Mach-D departure and a Tweed Free Alpha arrival. That arrival, it's a bit out of date. They're using an out of date ARAC cycle, so, but it's pretty good for what it is. You can go up here and select generate OFP. I'll process that. And once it's done, put you over here. So that's all the data you've got. This is the route that's shown on the map. So it's got all our information. It tells you your fuel weight, which is quite important, and your blow fuel, which is arguably the most important part you'll need. And then your route down here, you can just copy and paste that if you're putting it onto VATSIM. If you're not putting it on VATSIM, then you don't have to worry about it. But yeah. Blow fuel, 9.614. So we've got that. We'll let that load in. I use a thing called Volanta to track my flights, but it's also incredibly helpful. To track flights. So it shows you all the live VATSIM traffic as well. So any white plane's VATSIM and any blue plane is on Volanta network. And if you zoom in, it shows you the airport and other such things. There's, in fact, a plane behind me, but that's okay. It thinks I'm at a heliport. It's wrong. What you can do here is you can add a flight plan. And once you've set up your Simbrief up here in settings, it will let you import it. So it tells you it's from Lowy to Edinburgh, Manchester, that version. And if you are flying on VATSA, you can hit pre-file and it will fill out the flight plan section and you can hop into that. We're just waiting for this to load up, so we'll do that. Some cool feature of this mod is it does show every aircraft you can have. It's got certain airports do have the taxiways integrated. Some even have SAM numbers. This airport is not one, but that's okay. We're not that sort of fussed about that. Here we are at Louis. Okay, so here we are in the cockpit. Sorry about that. So, give it a second. Got fly-by-wire livery on here. And Innsbruck. It's a nice evening here in Innsbruck. This is one of the generated airports from the sim. So, you hit control, you can cycle through your different key areas. So, what you want to do before you start engines, check, or before you start the batteries, check wipers are all off. You want to go down here, check the engine masters are off, that's on norm. Right, so you could have an engine start off without you wanting it to. You can turn battery 1 on. And you can work on battery 2 as well. Once you've got those on, turn on the cruise flight on the doors. We're going to run a fire test. That's all working fine. We'll connect the external power. Start the master switch. Start switch. It's for the APU, so we can get some fuel control. The plane gets a bit noisy at this point, but we can deal with it. This is the fly pad integrated in one of the little sockets of coffee cup. Oh, I can remove the coffee cup. Didn't know that one. Okay. At the moment, it's not terribly well filled out, but that's okay. You can import your flight plan from Simbrief, theoretically. Currently, I'm not sure that works. But, yeah. That's a dev feature. We are in the development mode at the moment, so that's fine. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do, so you can actually get going anywhere, is flip your adheres up here to nav mode. Turn it on to nav, the on-bat light will come on. Once that turns off, you can turn your next one on. And then once it turns off again, click on your final one. That will just get you going there. The APU is available, so we can check on the APU bleed. What we also want to do is we want to get some lights on. So I like turning all the integrated lights on as well. It's not necessary, I just like the way they look. So, next thing you're going to want to be doing, I find, if I don't turn on my fuel pumps, I forget to turn them on, so turn it with them on. We can turn on the strobe light to auto, seatbelt signs on, smoking on, set them off, but they're extended now. Our plane will be lit up a bit. There we go. Okay. Next thing I always do, clear any messages in there. ATSU, AOC, and the initial request. So this is linked to your Simbrief as well. Go to MCDU, options, AOC, and then your Simbrief, put your username up there, and I'll get it. You can get your Metar source, ATIS source, all that sorted up as well. Okay. So ETSU, AOC, initial, and you can do your initial data request, and that will populate that with your flight number, departure, destination, and so it shows you what time you should be closing your doors, departing. Don't know what that feature does. We now go back into our AOC, and up here, we take out all our fuel. What we're looking for, our APU will fail, but that's besides the point. So, load our payload up. We will find our zero fuel weight center of gravity, which is 30. Our zero fuel weight, which is 50.1. 50.2. So 30, 50.2. You have to remember those numbers. 38, 50.2. Why is that not loaded the payload correctly? It wants our payload to be 16. What we're going to do there is we'll load that up to be correct. There we go. That's fine. We can, what I tend to do to normalize these houses, take that fit and add that on. So we've now got a center of gravity 29.2 and our zero fuel weight is 57.3. So we go to initial, net request, let's populate this bit as well. Cost index in. It won't be our cost index in a lot. So 57.3 was our zero fuel weight, and our zero fuel weight center of gravity was 29.2. What we then do is we can fuel planning, and then we can confirm the block fuel. Filling it in directly from the initial page doesn't always work. For some reason, it's not taking cost index for us, which is a bit upsetting. But what we're gonna do, we should now have fuel again. Do we have fuel again? No. Fuel prediction. Once our 6.2 block fuel. That's what I would. So what we can do is let's load that up again. So fuel. .2. That's fine. So now we have that. I'm hoping we have, yeah, 6.2 up there. Start the APU again. Because I emptied with the fuel. As we can see, these are hopefully about to align. Yep, IR align in 3 minutes. That's fine. Flaps open, RIP is still on that. Right, flight plan. It wants us to take a departure. From Louis, we can select the departure. We're taking off on runway 26. In fact, no, we won't be. Ignore me. We'll be taking off from runway 08. And then it wants us to take a multi, but we don't have a multi for this. SID. No SID. No insert now. So low E08. We then go to our performance mode. Tell it we're gonna have a flat setting. 1. You can use a performance calculator to work out your flights to 10. In the high altitude airport like this, it's likely to be Toga anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set it to 60. It's pretty close to max it can be. And then we take a double click on each of these and then put in our V speeds. So V1, point of no return, VR, speed you rotate at, and V2 is the speed you're pretty much safe at once you're off the runway. It's fine. Take off runway 08. Next phase. It's our climb phase, and that's fine. Just make sure that's all calculated as it was. It wants us to be at 35,000 or more. That's unreasonable, but okay. 2. So, actually, before you go to input any departure, you would call up ATC and be like, hey, what runways in use? Where can I depart to? You'd also look for an initial climb altitude to be given to you. At Oscar, the runway quite high, so it's normally a 120 flight level. And if you click up, you've got manage altitude, manage heading, manage airspeed, and that'll just follow all your nav and everything as well. And turn flight director, constraints. Lazily, you can hit B to adjust the QNH, where you can look up the METAR for the airport and adjust it like that. Range about 40 on 9 normally. We'll turn on our AP lead again. I'm going to turn off our external power, so we have the APU going. And we've got that aligned now as well. Perfect. So, put this optimal, so that's okay. Initial, don't know why the cost index didn't populate. We'd have, I think we do get a cost index on our Simbrief function. If we have a wee look down here, cost index, pretty free, so we'll put that in. And it's all good. As we are ready to go now, you would call up ask for push and start from the tower. Switch around to something. Just set these to where it's really matter. As we're not on push and start. Before you go, they're going to give you a score code. You want to set that onto auto, so you actually have a score code. If you don't do that, they won't be able to see you. Pay your score code, you can do that. If you want to see terrain on your heads up display, you hit on there, and it'll flash up on there when there's terrain to show. The other thing I do is, normally you wouldn't do this on the stand, so I'll do it in a minute, but you can turn on predictive wind shear, which is on auto, which is quite important. You can turn that on. But I wouldn't turn on this because it's your radar. So that will fry everyone on the ground in front of you if you turn that on. Don't want to do that. Okay. Here we go. So, we've called up tower. They've given us permission to start our engines and to push back. What you want to do, turn on your beacon light so people know you're about to start your engines. Make sure you've disconnected your APU. Yeah, your external power, if you have up there. And it'll toggle on engine 2. See, it starts spooling up over here. It's fine. I use a mod to do pushback called Pushback Helper. Pull up here. Yep. Once it's connected, it'll toggle up there. You hit tug, and the tug will connect with your aircraft. If there's a tug actually there, attach. show. It's just not a version of it. So, you do now. You can hit first. Use a parking brake before you do that. And then you can start reversing. You want to turn to the ports the runway you're going from. You're going from 08, which is over that. That's fine for us. Okay, we've got a good start on engine 2, so let's start up engine 1 now. What we're going to do, instead of flying to be that for takeoff. Stop the park. Tug thing. Disconnect the tug. It's fine, then we can just get rid of that as well. So, look here. Engine 1 is also starting. Do top now. So we'll wait until the bleed starts. Then we'll turn on the taxi light. Then we'll repeat window auto. And if it's cold enough to require anti-ice, you'll turn that on as well up here. And engine actually up here. In Innsbruck today it probably is, so we'll turn that on. Got your minutes light on taxi, as I said. For takeoff in these conditions, you would turn off the lights so you get better vision. And check if it's paid for more time, that's fine. So, do now, go down to normal. We can turn off our APU. It's fine. Disconnect our parking brake, which is control period by default, but it's actually switched from there. We'll begin our taxi. Sorry, it's a bit dark in here. For the video be visible, I will turn on the dim light. So, here we are. Both engines are well started. In the A32NX, you can kind of just idle and keep taxing, so that's fine. What you want to do, set your auto brake to max. Arm your drone's wings. This is in case you have to perform a rejected takeoff. So in that case, you'd be at full, nearly full throttle, and then what you'd do is you'd pull back all the way on your throttle, and you would be performing the rejected takeoff, and the spoilers would deploy, and your brakes would engage automatically. So, taxi out here. I'll show you what to do to get onto the runway, and then that's where we'll end this video. I've not been following the center line very well. If you want to follow the center line, you want to keep the center line vaguely above this point here, and then you should stay on it just above this point. You will stay on the center line pretty effectively. As you can see. As you can see, there you go. So, if this were the real airport, you'd want to stop here, or a bit further back, because that's where ATC would expect you to stop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push onto the runway, it's clear. It wants you to test takeoff config. So down here is effectively a checklist of stuff it wants you to do. Here's our takeoff config button. Tested that. Now let's just check it up here. Hit all. It'll give you a nice announcement as well. You've turned onto the runway, so what you're going to do now, set that to takeoff, and turn your landing lights as well. This basically means you're lit, ready for your departure. Once you are airborne, your landing lights come off only above 10,000 feet. Whenever you pass through 10,000 feet on your descent, you switch them back on. For landing, you leave your taxi light in the taxi mode. And through here, you have the backtrack. to get onto the right part of the runway. This plane has a very tight turning circle, so you should be fine. I find if you lock out though, that doesn't work that well. So you don't want to turn too harshly. And then you want to line yourself up on the threshold here. You don't want to be back here. This is the thrust zone. It's not really designed for you to start your takeoff roll. If you're in a bigger aircraft, 757 for example, with this airport, you might do that, but don't need to turn this. Then once you roll right up, you can come to rest and apply your parking brake. So, in this video we covered the setup. You're playing Simbrief integration and get it completely set up for takeoff. Hope you enjoyed the video, and let's have a peek at Innsbruck. Completely clear skies. The daytime, shall we? There's little sky plots everywhere. Let's pick up this stuff. There we go. So, hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. Bye bye.